Hey everybody, your old pal Shawn here. In today's episode, I'm going to share two powerful frameworks for changing your life. But before we get started, please, if you like what we're doing, like this video, comment, tell me what you think. Am I covering topics that are interesting to you? Did I get something wrong? Is there something you want me to elaborate on? I want to know. I'm here to help you. And if you haven't subscribed, share this with as many people as you can. We got to get the message out. We have to start moving in a better direction. And if you're in a good financial position, please consider checking out our givesendgo.com/SZP for the Shawn Zemba podcast. Now, let's get started. So, as I'd mentioned in previous episodes, for many years I did often informal, casual kind of support and guidance, mentoring, training, coaching, wide variety of venues and models. A lot of times it was free, sometimes donation based. Certain time periods, things were charged. And today I'm going to share two of the most powerful frameworks that I've given to clients. And when I begin to tell you about them, you might not be too impressed. You might say, well, Shawn, I've heard this. I understand that. I get it. Now, the clients who got the most out of what I did, they often had 20 plus years experience. People who had many certifications, been to all the seminars, had all the training. And the first framework I'm going to give you completely transformed the life of a psychologist. 20 plus years experience, many seminars, many certifications, different approaches and techniques. But by applying these insights, completely transformed her life, got rid of two very, very old concerns quickly, just by hearing what I'm about to share with you, and then asking me a couple of questions to clarify. What you're about to hear is simple, but not easy. Someone can understand the process of going to the gym and working out, for instance, but they'll have none of the benefits because they don't have the repetition of actually doing it. And you get a deeper type of insight from the process of engaging in the activity than you do just thinking about it. So today we're going to go deeper. Now we're going to dive into this transformative power. So the first exercise, these are as deep as you want to take it, and they're flexible enough to adapt to any path, no matter what you believe or how advanced you are. You'll always know some steps that you could take next. I like to use the metaphor of a path, and it works really well here because you always see farther down the path than you actually are. Often people work hard and they say, oh, but I have so much to do. Yeah, and that's always going to be the case. And because you can see where there's room to grow. It's not this idea of perfection where you reach the top of the mountain and you just stand there, because eventually you have to come back down and there are other mountains to climb and valleys and deserts and fields. You have to keep going. It's not about sitting there and looking down at everybody. So the first framework that I'd like to share with you begins simply enough. For the first 2 weeks, just take note of whatever emotions you feel during that 2-week period. Just take note of it. At the end of the 2 weeks, I want you to rate all of the emotions that you took note of. All of them. Positive, negative, however you want to categorize them. And there are going to be 3 categories we're looking at. What was the roughly the total duration, would you say? Now, I'm not expecting you to know down to the minute or even down to the hour, especially if you felt it frequently. But what was the duration you spent feeling this emotion? Total over 2 weeks. How frequently did you feel it? So, for example, maybe you had a bad day and you were in that emotion all day, but the rest of the week you felt differently. Okay, happened once, but it was a long duration. Other things you might feel five, six, 7 times a day. Well, that helps give us a little more insight about what's going on inside. And next, intensity. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being supremely intense, how intense were the emotions? That's simple. We're going to rate these things by duration, frequency, and intensity. And after you do that, pick one or two emotions that you'd really like to work on. And then for the next 2 weeks, just take a look at everything that's contributing to those two emotions and take note of it. You don't have to change anything, don't have to do it. Just become a little more aware, a little more sensitive, pay attention to it, and see what's contributing. Now, let me give you an example. Years ago, in 2019, I was working a lot, often 86 hours a week, and because of that, I also didn't really have much of a social circle. So I would go out to eat almost every night, and I'd stay for a little while as my social activity before I went to bed. But I was eating a lot, and a lot of it was junk. Total junk. I was drinking beer usually. Once in a while, I'd have a cocktail, and I was working all the time. Well, at a certain point, I noticed that I started to feel different. See, I'm very aware of my body, all the martial arts and qigong and yoga and inner alchemy and whatnot. I'm pretty keenly aware of what's going on in my body, and I started to experience symptoms that I never felt before. Numbness, tingling. Eventually, my fingertips were changing. I'd have discoloration of things, my vision. Then all of a sudden, in my gut, I'm feeling a wide variety of things, and I don't need to go into more detail, but many things were happening. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what's going on? What's all this about? And eventually, I started looking it up. And of course, I went on WebMD and it told me the bad news that I had explosive murder cancer and the tumors that actually spit AIDS at you that mutate into MS and diabetes. And then your girlfriend happens to go around and start telling all your friends you have a small dick. And so it was the worst thing you can imagine. You never want to catch this kind of thing, but whenever you type in symptoms to WebMD, it's always worst case scenario, massive death, horrific stuff. And I'm noticing my resting heart rate's going up, and I'm getting numbness in my cheek and a variety of things. I'm just like, I gotta get checked out. And I go to the ER, they see nothing. They're like, hey, you got this inflammation. We don't know what it is, but everything's getting clear. And I'm like, everything is not clear. Because none of this shit ever happened to me before. It's not clear. And then I would go to specialists, kidney specialists, gut specialists, people checking on the skin, people on the circular. I was checking with everybody. I was going to obscure doctors and people, every modality you could find to try and get some kind of answer. And I was like, I don't know. And that's extremely unsatisfying. And they do a battery of tests at the ER, for example, and I'm just like, oh God. They'd say I'm fine, but as soon as I leave, I'd notice a new symptom. I'm like, fuck. If I had only had this happen a little earlier, I could have told them, and that could have stopped everything. I remember going to one of the specialists, and he goes, hey, look, I've seen your blood work. I'm not going to do anything for you unless you're in so much pain and discomfort that you're losing sleep. And I'm like, what the fuck? Aren't we supposed to try and prevent shit before it gets bad? Aren't we trying to catch things early? Why are we doing this? It made no sense to me. And after months of this, and every minute I'm checking new symptoms, I'm checking symptoms. Oh, I can feel it in my fingertips. Oh, I feel it in my arm. Oh, my sides, they feel different. Oh, this. And at that point, I'd stopped doing overtime. I started paying attention to my sleep more. I started eating really clean. But I'm still having all this weird stuff going on. I'm like, oh man. And I was eating clean for months. I lost a good chunk of weight. Probably like 15 pounds pretty rapidly. And it was just like, what's going on? I don't get it. Freaking out. Then I happened to talk to my old Qigong instructor who's an acupuncturist and does other modalities. And he goes, Shawn, get on a strong B complex and call me in a week. And son of a bitch, that did it. All of a sudden, I was feeling a lot better. And like half the symptoms went away in the first week, and the anxiety went away, and I wasn't freaking out. But what's the point behind all this? There are many contributing factors to our emotional states. One, constantly checking and rechecking for symptoms or something to go wrong. I understand we're trying to be hyper vigilant and to protect danger, but at a certain point, it's more destructive than helpful. So I was doing that, envisioning, MS diagnoses and cancer diagnosis and all these things, and just reliving that all the time. That's not happy. And I'm imagining, oh God, my hair is going to be falling out and have to fight against death, and the Grim Reaper is going to come for my ass. Like it's just horrific shit. And at the same time, I'm checking WebMD, which is constantly just telling you, you are doomed, mortal. You are fucked. And it's just, what's going on? And at the same time, I also had a vitamin deficiency, a pretty substantial one. There are many things we can check. So for the 2 weeks, I'm going to give you an anecdote, another one before I go into this. So I have a friend. She's a therapist. She helps people quit smoking. And she's doing quite well. But she went to school for different types of therapy. She learned a variety of modalities and breath work and somatic movements and observational therapies and hypnosis and coaching and going to the seminars, and she's meditating and all kinds of stuff. And she's working out. But she always dealt with these big, intense moments of depression, super intense, like life-disrupting things, and no technique she was doing was shaking it. It's like, what the fuck's going on? And then she figured she'd start having a super clean diet. And then eventually that went away. Her horrible depression went away. And she's like, well, what's going on with this? She come to figure out that, if family's in town for the holiday, she could have a cheat meal, maybe 2. But when it became too frequent or too many in a row, it would fuck up her body chemistry, something fierce. And it would throw her off. And she told me, sometimes depending on how big the disruption, it might take weeks until she could feel happy again and just be out of this miserable despair. Sometimes it could even be months. So she's really on point with her diet because she doesn't want to experience this horrible, horrible depression. And, I've heard this kind of thing before. And by the way, I'm not recommending a particular diet. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, personal trainer, dietitian, nutritionist, anything. So do not follow blindly the word of people on the internet, okay? But I've heard of this kind of thing before where people would try anything and they'll have anxiety and depression and often autoimmune conditions as well. And then, they just find the right shit to eliminate from their diet, and all of a sudden it makes a big difference for them. So that might be something to consider. Our emotional states have many contributing factors. One, what's going on in our mind? Are you spending a lot of the day arguing with your partner in your mind or your boss? Who does he think he is? He ain't nothing. Or are you thinking about some politician that you think is messing up the world? Or are you reliving, finding out that your ex was cheating on you or the worst moment of your life? Or I'm not saying you're bad for it. I'm saying that you've repeated it so often, maybe it's natural and it's hard to stop. But just take note of some of these things that you notice. Oh, do you spend a lot of time thinking about your ex who cheated on you? Okay, take note of that. Do you spend a lot of time feeling miserable? Okay, well, take note of that. Do you spend a lot of time reliving? Listen, are you spending 2.5 hours a day listening to The Cure? Because you're probably not in a good space, If you're spending all day listening to Taylor Swift, man, I don't have high optimism for your romantic relationships. You probably have had some hard times. But in all seriousness, these are just basic things to pay attention to. Take note. Are you sleeping? Because, hey, if you're well rested versus really exhausted, that's going to tune up or turn down your intensity of emotion. Are you physically in pain? Do you have inflammation? Do you have joint pain? Do you have an injury or something going on? Because that's also a contributing factor. Could look into that. Are you hungry? Are you hangry? Are you starving? Are you overly full? All of these things impact you. I often recommend people to work with a doctor or clinician of some kind, get some blood work done, find out if you have any nutrient deficiencies. That can often lead you somewhere to explore, might be helpful. If you do that, remember, there's a deficient level, there's not deficient, which is anything above that, and then above that level, there's like optimal levels. And that's often where you really see people turning around. And sometimes you might have to do pretty good dosages with the recommendation and endorsement of your health team and your doctor and nurses and all of that. But that can really be transformative. I've known people who had life-changing experiences by getting the mold out of their system. There are a lot of contributing factors. Are you getting sun? Are you getting exercise? I'm not saying you have to be a super athlete, but did you get a runner's high, or did you do some resistance training and get some endorphins going? Your blood's pumping, you're breathing heavy. Some movement. Your posture. Are you open and up? Is your spine straight? Are you smiling? Are your muscles relaxed? Are you breathing well, deeply? Well, if you're doing that, then cool. But if you find yourself hunched over and your back's hurting from that and you're pushing it on your lungs and you're not breathing that deeply and your eyes are down and you're sad looking, well, you're probably sad. And overly simplistic, but these are all things to look at. How do you talk about your life experiences? Do you speak often in terms of being overwhelmed, broken, destroyed, trauma, exhausted, burnt out, drained, depleted, Because those are things to take a look at. It's funny, and again, it sounds overly simplistic, but often what I've seen is that people experience emotions they communicate about. And you think which comes first, the chicken or the egg, but people who never talk about being overwhelmed or drained or never really feel that way. And there's some type of correlation to that. The way we represent it in the body. Now, how powerful is the idea of thinking about things in terms of your emotional state? Well, look, I'm not telling you nothing bad happens. As I said many times before, we live in a world where heartbreak, betrayal, corruption, war, violence, famine, poverty, and death are all everyday realities. You're gonna feel pain. Your loved ones are going to pass away. It's gonna be difficult. We don't want to make it even more difficult. So are you trying, do you want to do, let's say, God forbid, but a loved one passes away. So do you want to experience that while being sleep deprived and mineral deficient and being in physical pain and being out of shape and you're frequently arguing with your partner and your boss pisses you off? And how many things are you going to put in your way? How many obstacles are you going to set in front of yourself to try and feel decent? Or are going to try and set yourself up for success and optimize as many of these things as possible? Are you well hydrated? Are you well rested? The power of the mind is substantial. You could take somebody who loves to be on stage, whether they're a performer, dancer, singer, politician, they love to be in front of people. And that might be a highlight of their year. But for many people, being on stage is feared more than death. Isn't that crazy? But they're imagining themselves, they're there and they're embarrassed and they say the wrong thing and they make a mistake and they trip. And, everyone laughs at them and they're not supposed to and they're not serious. And it's a very overwhelming idea to them. It's the same event, but it could be experienced completely differently, whether you're prepared for it and have positive associations with it, or if you're not prepared and you have a negative concept of it, because that's going to have a major impact on how you experience that event. You could find somebody who would see a rat and think it's so cute and want to hold it and kiss it and hug it and pet it. And at the same time, that person's sister might be so terrified of that same rat that they just have a heart attack and die. And the thought of this rat being near is just petrifying. But it's the same event. When you begin to analyze your emotions and see, okay, these two emotions that I'd really like to change, and you start to notice some of the contributing factors, what makes them more intense or more frequent? Is it a song that reminds you of your ex? Is it, driving by your old high school and remembering how you were bullied? Is it, driving by a restaurant you used to go to with somebody who's no longer alive? Is it just a song came on? Whatever the case may be, it gives you information. If you're getting ready to go home and you're already expecting a fight or an argument or some kind of challenge there, well, that's going to raise your baseline level of tension. And that's usually something we want to have lower. So, to recap this exercise so far, first 2 weeks, just take note of all of the emotions you feel. And then after 2 weeks, rank them by intensity, frequency, and duration. For next 2 weeks, pick 2 that you'd really like to work on and take note of every contributing factor that you can find. And pick, after that, at the end of the week, pick 2 contributing factors to pay attention to. And if you notice it, in your mind, say stop or cancel or change or rewind or something like that. Interrupt that idea. One of the ideas I got from I think the book's called Positive Intelligence. There's a technique where, for example, you're in a certain pattern, you're in a certain rut, and you would take your finger and your thumb and you'd pay super close attention to it and rub it and try and feel all the ridges on your fingers. And for 2 minutes, all that exists is this. And you do that, and that's going to serve pretty well to interrupt that pattern and bring more awareness to your life. get you more on a positive path. You do that. And then what I used to tell clients is 10,000 times for one thought about, oh, my ex left me. No one's ever going to love me like they did. Well, 10,000 times go, all right, my ex left me and I'm going to have a better relationship because I learned a lot from that. I know how to set boundaries now. I understand what red flags to look out for. I'm going to have an even better relationship. Or I'm going to find one. And you're focusing on something constructive. And you might say, well, Shawn, that's not natural. I'm lying to myself. And I say, well, if you go to the gym and you lift weights, that doesn't mean you're lying to yourself and pretending you're strong. What you're doing is training yourself to be stronger. So if you condition yourself to be more grateful, more positive, then that's going to take repetition. It might not be natural the first time or 2 or 10 or 100. But, once you have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 repetitions, it's really easy to be that way. And so start getting the reps in. When you notice, and it's no problem, see yourself with kind eyes, as Dr. Maxwell Maltz from Psycho-Cybernetics used to say. If you begin to see, okay, I'm in an unproductive train of thought. I'm beating up on myself because I messed up at a project at work. No problem. That happens, okay? But take time then to, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I do this better? I'm really going to find some way to excel at this. I'm going to find some way to not just excel, but enjoy it. Or take time to remember things you did well, because if you're focusing on your mistakes, you get tenser and tenser and you get tunnel vision, and all of a sudden you're missing things that you would have caught. Relax. Think about things you did well, learning to tie your shoes, maybe a task at work, maybe something in high school, and relive that a few times. And then that begins to prime you for success. When you try something new, at least you're going to be seeing yourself through kind eyes. You'll be more relaxed and have more of a sense of confidence about yourself. And then you can eventually get better through repetition. Just remind yourself, hey, repetition, it makes me better. I'm just going to keep repeating until the shifts are natural, instead of being self-destructive is natural. And little by little, you'll work through each of these emotions. You'll eventually work through every contributing factor of those two emotions that you'd like to improve. And that's going to change your life tremendously. And then you can work through the entire list of emotions. And little by little, with patience, observation, you could transform your life at a very deep level, because you'll begin to notice all of your habitual thoughts, words, actions, and emotions. And you're going to start retraining them. Now, I'm just going to take a pause here and tell you, I don't believe in repressing your emotions. I don't believe in ignoring them or pushing them away or bottling up. That does not lead to good places. However, we're often trained to focus on our problems all the time. And then that causes our pain to bleed into every other situation in life and poison that. What I generally suggest is, when you're with a licensed and trained therapist, that's a great time to do that work. If you're having a discussion with a friend in confidence, okay, that might be a good time. Do your journaling, do your somatic exercises, do your breath work, do your talk therapy, do your CBT, do your NLP, do your hypnosis, whatever you want to do, your observational practices. Do those. When you plan on doing therapy on yourself, when you plan on focusing on that. But the rest of your day, gradually train yourself with a lot of repetition to feel the way you want to feel, to focus on what you want to focus on, to try and set yourself up for success. If you notice, okay, I have pain in my body, I have these injuries, I have this inflammation, maybe a dietary intervention could help. Maybe, some cold exposure on the local cold exposure might help. Maybe there's some type of treatment or formula that could assist you. Maybe there's some type of mobility drills or therapy that can get everything moving inside the joint capsule better, and get everything lubricated so it doesn't hurt. There are many of these ideas that could be very helpful to you. And it's an exploration. No matter where you are on the path, you're never done. Even once you work through that list of emotions, well, you might say, hey, at this point in my life, I want a different set. Now, how do I do that? Instead of focusing on, the boyfriend you don't have, you might want to focus on, well, the opportunities you do have and the arguments you're now free of, or the sense of insecurity that maybe that person might be doing something behind your back. Well, now that person's not in the picture, you're free. This is one of the most simple but extraordinarily deep practices you can do. And this makes up the vast majority of your life. Now, again, life is still going to be hard. There is no easy path, but we can streamline things so you're not trying to overcome a million obstacles at once. You can align all of your power and just deal with the challenging events ahead of us. Now, let's look at the second framework. Take a look at your schedule. If someone has a very chaotic schedule, it's quite easy to have a very stress-filled life. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look. If someone spends the night staying up and binge watching their favorite series on Netflix, what happens? Well, they don't sleep and they're worked up. And so when they're supposed to get up, they hit snooze, they hit snooze, they hit snooze, they hit snooze. And then they wake up and think, oh, fuck, now I'm late. Well, then they don't have breakfast and they end up hangry. And, they're racing. And, they almost, because they're driving kind of fast, maybe they get a ticket, maybe they get pulled over. Or maybe, someone flips them off, honks their horn at them. That probably didn't help. And then all of a sudden, of course, you're late to work. Now you have traffic. And then freaking out there, and then you get to work and you're angry there, and your boss is saying, you can only be late one more time, and then you're out the door, and you're like, man, what's going on? And you could be so angry. And these are all ripple effects of just staying up and binge watching Netflix. If, on the other hand, you looked at yourself and said, hey, I need to be well rested tomorrow. And I usually function better with 7.5 hours of sleep. It usually takes me a half hour to fall asleep. Allot yourself 8 hours, maybe a little more. And there's a lot of sleep hygiene things you can do. Generally people don't sleep as well if they've eaten recently. So stop doing that. Even if you're trying to hydrate, even if you're just drinking water, okay, you had too much water, you're going to have to wake up and use the restroom while you're instead of just straight sleeping. Okay. That's also a concern. Did you have a really stimulating and irritating conversation before bed? Okay, well, that's going to be on your mind while you're trying to sleep. Were you exposed to a lot of blue light? Okay, that might make it more difficult. Did you get sun during the day, particularly early in the day? Because that helps you sleep. If you didn't do that, that could throw you off. When you're sleeping, are you in the dark or are you in lights? Are you in a quiet or loud environment? Are you sleeping where it's cool, your head's cool, and your body's warm? Is your partner tossing and turning in their sleep? These are all things to look at. They can all be adjusted. Once you begin to get the sleep piece in, and that's the number one pillar to health. You might start to think, okay, now what am I going to do right before bed to calm down? Am I going to journal about my day and let all of my emotions out and say, hey, these were my struggles. These were where I didn't live up to my personal hopes for myself. And these are things I did well, and this is what I'm grateful for. And really associate yourself with it. Really feel the emotions as richly as you can. And then when you do that, There have been plenty of studies that'll show it makes an impact on your health and well-being. Are you gonna, when you get up, because you'll eventually, once your body's used to it, when you get up, are you gonna be rolling over and playing with your phone and looking to see what your least favorite politicians did today? Or are you going to get up and plan your day? Okay, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. Or are you going to get a quick workout in? Or are you going to use the restroom or take a shower, make breakfast? Are you going to start the day off, for those who are into this kind of thing, start the day off with a prayer or meditation? Are you going to read a book, read some scripture, whatever you're into? But when you start your day off with focus and clarity, hey, maybe you're just quickly getting up. All right, I have to drop this off. I have to make this call. That call is very important. I need to present myself in a certain way. Maybe I'm going to practice for a few minutes what I'm going to say or what topic I want to go over. Maybe you're just going to roll out of bed, make the bed, drop and do 50 push-ups, and all right, start your day with some success and some blood pumping. It doesn't have to be, and I don't even recommend having a big elaborate morning routine. That often becomes an obstacle for people. But if you're doing something that's going to focus you, help you, strengthen you, get you building momentum early in the day, that's usually a good idea. Gives you something to look forward to, gives you the opportunity to build momentum. It's a good thing. Throughout your day, things like food. Are you just going to grab something quick? Often that's probably not too healthy and it probably costs more. Are you just going to fast and not eat? Did you happen to meal prep some food that you actually like, that you're actually going to eat, that'll be a little better for you? These are different things to consider, throughout your day. Maybe every hour or a couple of hours, you might stretch to limber up. You might do a quick breathing exercise to get some more oxygen going. You might do some mobility, shoulder rolls and stuff. Just things to get your juices flowing, wake you up a little more, bring a little more alertness to whatever activities you're engaged in. There are a lot of different approaches, and I don't recommend specifically scheduling every second of your day. That doesn't really work too well for me in any system that I've tried so far. But if I put in guide rails, basic structures of, okay, I want to get this done, and this done, that helps. If you're going to see your partner and you have to talk about a difficult subject, maybe you want to block out some time to rehearse talking about that subject. Or maybe you had a fight last time and you want to rehearse how you would like to deal with those subjects that irritated you before. And I've had people in the past several times say things like, I want to be compassionate. So I read about compassion. I meditate on compassion. I pray to be compassionate. I do compassion mantras. I contemplate what is the highest version of compassion. But then I get into an argument with my partner and I say things I don't want to say and I'm not really present for them. And what do? And I typically ask, well, what would that even look like? What would you say? And they often don't know. And this is why sometimes rehearsal is a good idea. Well, find options to say and then practice so that option will be there for you in a time of stress when you need it. Get the repetition in, get the focus in, and that'll help you out substantially. But just having a basic schedule that sets you up for success, that doesn't throw you into chaos or disorder. It just allows you to move on with your day. This is powerful because when you get all of the basics right, all of the things you say, think, feel, do on a regular basis, that's like 85-90% of your life. And you get that right, you have most of your life together. And of course, sometimes schedule's gonna break. Kid's gonna break their leg, or there's a car accident, or you gotta take it to the shop, or you have an appointment you gotta make that runs late. The weather delayed you. You're not feeling well, whatever the case may be. You take care of that. And when you miss one time, two times, it's not dramatic. You already have an enormous amount of repetition holding your life together, giving it order, giving it structure. And the body, you hear a lot about nervous system regulation. Well, the body is more regulated with the familiar, with the safe. And when you have a lot of things that are very similar, when you go outside of that, it's easier to recover then because we have to go outside of our comfort zone to grow and make a difference in the world. When you have some structures that can help ground you, help take care of you, make sure you're getting the nutrients and the rest and the energy and whatnot that you need, that's a really powerful support system. And then why am I talking about all this? Because I believe in helping people from a position of strength. It's wonderful to help people. It's wonderful that we have all these causes that are so important to us. But the thing is, if we're too exhausted to fight for the cause, well, we're not going to be very effective. If we don't have any money, but we're giving and giving whatever we have, pretty soon we're the ones who need money, and that's not positioning us well. When we work from a position of strength, we have the ability to say no. Often, very kind-hearted, thoughtful people, they'll say, oh, well, it's not about us, it's about being self-sacrificing and taking care of others. And there's a certain truth to that. However, we also have to function as human beings. And sometimes by always doing what others want, it enables their worst behaviors, and it rewards them for their worst behaviors and teaches them to take advantage of people. And while it teaches you to shrink and be less than who you could be. And that hurts both parties, even though you mean well. You think you're being loving, you think you're being self-sacrificing. But instead, sometimes you need to be in a position of strength. You need to be able to say no, or need to be able to walk away, need to be able to stand up for yourself. Not mean, but just, I'm sorry, but no, this doesn't work for me. And they might not like that, but when you can negotiate and you have a position of strength, that's going to set you up for much better opportunities throughout your life. And that's going to begin to help to train the other people that you're interacting with, like, hey, you can't just do whatever you want without regard. There can be consequences for that. You might lose some benefits, certain resources, friendships. And you'd be surprised how many people might disappear when they're not allowed to use you anymore. But those people weren't even really there for you anyway. So how big of a loss is it? Not much of one. Having these structures, having these different factors that we repeat over and over again, and strengthening them is a great idea. And it can change throughout your life. If at a certain moment you're an athlete and you're trying to win a competition, maybe you tuck in a few more workouts or skill training routines. But then, maybe you have a relationship where you're starting a business, so you take some time away there and you put it to where your new priorities go. That's fine. That's not a problem at all. Just pivot and start making your life better. This is a simple thing to do, and you have that power. Now, let's take this even further. How can we make your schedule, your routines even richer? Well, the more present you are, the more life you bring to everything you do. If instead your mind is glued to the phone and you are just doing whatever the phone tells you, and instead of laughing, a deep belly laugh, you have an emoji that looks like it's laughing. Instead, you sit stone face, and it's sort of funny, I guess. Like, train yourself. First routine of the day, first one, whether it's taking a shower, making your bed, quick workout, whatever that is, first routine of the day, super present. And then after that, you can relax. You do that for a while until you're naturally able to be very present for that first routine. Guess what? After that, second routine. Do that for a while until it's normal. Third routine, fourth routine. And then you'll be living every routine of your life so much more richly and being present there instead of your mind wandering in la la land. Next, what you can do is check your posture. Is it up? Are your shoulders back? Is your chest open? Are you smiling? Are you relaxed? Are you carrying tension in your stomach or in your throat or in your glutes or on your shoulders? Where are you carrying tension? Relax that. Breathe deeply. And there are many breath techniques that can help you fill your body with oxygen. That's also something you can do. Great posture, fully oxygenated. That might be something. Hydrated. Are you well hydrated? That's another thing you could tap into. If you're into it, you could make life a bit of a prayer, and you could focus on Jesus or on God or Krishna or Shiva or what the Great Spirit or whatever your path is. Or it could simply be, simple awareness of the present moment. Or it could be self-inquiry where you're the witness behind. And then you start to spread that level of experience to every routine you have. After that, you can start to really focus on enjoying the shit out of everything you're doing. Because that is a powerful technique in and of itself. If you can enjoy the shit out of whatever you're doing, like doing the dishes. Hey, how clean can I make these? How fast can I make them super clean? How fun can this be? And you can really train yourself to do that. You can take the most mundane things and find satisfaction in it. And I don't mean perfection. A lot of people have a perfectionist streak. But my reframe of that is you're not aiming for perfection. It's not how clean can I make the kitchen if I had 12 years and every tool and equipment, chemical and all, trained staff to do it. It's okay. I got 20 minutes. What can I do? And make it clean. From there, you can evaluate, hey, is this as clean as could I streamline it? Maybe I'm going to start cleaning on the top and then work to the middle and then, sweep or mop or vacuum whatever's on the floor. I mean, how am I going to do this? And you'll gradually get better and better at it. You can make your life very fulfilling. And your habitual thoughts, words, deeds, emotions, actions, habits, this is most of your life. And if you take care of this, you're always going to know what's another step that I could take on my path. No matter how advanced you are, no matter what you believe, no matter what you have going on in your life, you can adjust. Most of this takes little to no time. And you can just get on the path. Get on the path. Build a foundation. And then, your life changes at some point. Hey, you can adjust your foundation to fit your new values, new priorities. That's fine. Set yourself up for success because you never know when the worst day of your life's coming. Now, do you want to face that worst day when you're sleep deprived and tired and late and you haven't worked out in 2 years and you've been eating garbage and you're a little hungover? Or do you want to face that in the prime of your power? Do you want to face the most difficult moments from a place of ease? Do you want to face some of the challenging conversations from a more relaxed place because you've already practiced having those conversations 1,000 times? You rehearsed it. You figured it out. You know what the major objections are probably going to be. And so you're prepared. That can help keep your baseline of tension lower when you are prepared for something. It's easy to get anxious about things that you've never done before. But when you've done it 1,000 times, it's not even new. It's just Monday. And then you get to it and start making your life better. Start turning things around. And it all starts with some simple awareness. What do I feel? What am I doing that's adding to that? Life's hard enough. You don't want to add undue suffering and challenge. You want to do at the minimum the reality of it. And use it to stay on the path, to align yourself with the nature of the facts on the ground. Now, once again, this isn't a suggestion to deny, push down, bottle up emotions. One day, we're going to cover some different approaches to dealing with emotions, all right? But today's not that day. Instead, here, we're trying to gain an awareness of what we're unconsciously doing and begin to refine new patterns, new behaviors, and decide where we want to go next. We can head in a better direction. And from there, you're better positioned to serve the world. If you have some big idea, big dream, big cause that matters to you, well, hey, you're going to serve it better when you have energy, when you're feeling good, when you have confidence, when your health is better, when you're feeling physically and mentally stronger and more focused. Help from a position of strength. Help the world from your power, not from a sense of brokenness. Now, one more tip. If you want to install a new habit into your schedule, let's say working out, well, you could do that quite simply. All you have to do is, first of all, look at it. How do you think about it? And if it's, oh God, I worked out all day. I worked all day. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm already in pain. Now I'm not gonna watch my show. I don't get to watch my show. I got too fat to watch my show. I don't get to hang out with my friends at the bar. I don't get social events. I don't get that. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive 30 minutes to get to the fucking gym. And then, I'm going to wait in front of the bench for 27 minutes. And then No, they didn't wipe the bench off. It's going to be covered in herpes juice. I'm going to get chlamydia. And then, crabs are going to be crawling through my fucking eyes. And then I'm going to work out. I'm going to torture myself. I'm going to be sore for 2 weeks. And then I'm just going to be limping around work and having a hard time going up and down stairs. And it's terrible. Now, if you're doing that, you're not going to be working out long. You have too many associations and reason with pain and reasons not to. Instead, a more functional way would be to focus on, and you catch yourself doing that, overrule it by 10,000 times doing stuff like this. Hey, working out makes me stronger, more energetic. It takes the pain, makes me more pain-free in the long run. I'm better looking in the mirror. I'm more fuckable, more desirable. I feel more confident when I'm looking good. Every rep makes me longer, harder, thicker, and stronger. It's going to empower me. All of a sudden you want to work out a bit more. But it's not just that. Because so many people, okay, they get motivated for today and they're like, okay, I'm going to do the Navy SEAL Hell Week preparation fitness training. Even though I haven't exercised in 5 years, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to add Mr. Olympia bodybuilding routine because I want to be hot when I do it. And that's not going to work. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to break your system down. You're going to give it too much stress to adapt to in a reasonable time frame. System's going to break down. You're going to be sore as fuck for a long, long time, and you're not going to do it anymore. What I often suggest people to do is, first of all, first few days, don't even work out. Just relive some things that you've done successfully, which is maybe a task at work, maybe tying your shoes, maybe a nice dish you made in the kitchen. And then from there, relive it. And then after that, see yourself, imagine that you're working out and it's good and you're happy. And make it vivid and get your senses involved. Hear the weights moving, feel the pump, hear yourself breathing, all that. Then when you actually start working out a few days later, you keep the idea of, oh, it's so good to work out. But you only do maybe 2-3 minutes of exercise. Maybe you do 20 push-ups, 20 squats, and then you do a stretch, and then that's your workout. And you might say, well, Shawn, that's not enough stimulus to get the physical adaptations that I want. I go, I know. I'm not trying to make you super fit right now. We're trying to build a habit. We're trying to build a habit that is super easy to keep. Once it's natural to work out and you want to work out and you have good associations with working out, it's pleasurable. You're attracted to the idea of working out. It's what you want to do. Then, after the habit's established, it's easy to add volume or intensity and move it up to 10 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour or whatever you want to do. That's simple once the habit's there. And this also serves a purpose by gradually getting your body acclimated to a little bit more movement. And then, eventually you increase it and a little bit more movement. This minimizes how difficult it's going to be to recover for you. You're not going to have the days and days of soreness and pain. You'll be fine. You just build up one step at a time. And by doing this, you get on the path and you can change your life. If you want to start reading, you don't say, I'm going to read a book a day. Almost nobody has the time and the speed of reading to be able to manage that. However, if you want to read eventually for an hour a day or something, you can do that. But you have to build up. Establish the habit first. Start with a paragraph. Maybe you're reading scripture. Maybe you're reading a book, or maybe about a skill or something interesting. Maybe it's just a story. That's fine. But you take that, start with the paragraph. You can't fail a paragraph. Just get the paragraph in and you're good. Once the habit's established and you know you're really looking forward to the next chapter, if you have a little time, you can sit and read it. There's so many ways that you can easily install habits that'll transform your life and make everything way better. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to set you up for success. We're trying to set you up so that anything you want to do, you can do easily. This information is incredibly simple, but it's as deep as you want to take it. Any thought, word, action, emotion, habit, idea, force that you want to be more present in your life, you can bring it. If there's any habit you want to establish, you can do it in the same way I told you. Between these two frameworks, you can set a foundation for your life, and no matter what direction you want to go in, no matter what path you're on, or what you believe, or how advanced you believe you are, or how fast or slow you want to go, you could take these two frameworks and have them adapt to your situation, and they will change your life, and they will make you more powerful. They will make you more effective, and they'll help you move the world in a better direction. Okay, hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to share this with one or two people. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, rock on, party on. This is Shawn, signing out.